Hey, welcome to episode 780 of today's Antidote. Today, we're going to talk about how lawnmowers are going to make things really clear to you about this pathway restart and knowing when. Tom just gave me a preview. It is awesome stuff. If you've ever seen a lawnmower, and I know you have, if you've ever worked one, I know you have, you're going to be amazed at what you're about to discover from lawnmowers and more. All that today on today's Antidote.
Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
I see what you did there, Tom. You did a little restart. You played the end and then you restarted and played the beginning. You're just trying to model what we're talking about, right?
Something like that, yes.
I like it. All of a sudden I was just doing my thing because I've got some technology stuff I've got to do while the opening plays, and I'm doing it, and I'm like, wait. I don't usually hear that at the beginning. And I look, and sure enough, it's the end. So if you're new to us, Tom was nice enough to give you a preview of what the end part of this is. So you can be looking forward to that in 15, 20, 30 minutes from now. But it's all good, right?
It's just
the way it is today. We come
real.
back tomorrow and we try it a different way.
Today on today's Antidote?
Yeah. Yes. My nemesis.
It definitely creeps up for you occasionally. There's no doubt.
Well, and you know when it does? It's every time I get excited about the opening. If I get excited about it, I can't wait to do it. That's when it comes up. And you saw me get excited. You told me about the lawnmower thing, and I was like, oh, I got it.
I know.
So.
Fair enough. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome, not goodbye, to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where each week Bob and I have a conversation around a topic, and each day of the week we dive a little bit deeper into that topic. And our topic this week is pathway restarts, and we've been winding our way through this, trying to find more clarity around what a restart is. And so if you want to go back and didn't catch our last two episodes, they were about the benefits and the challenges about a restart. And I think that also gave us a little bit of clarity on what it is and how a restart impacts us and how it can add value. And as we're going through that conversation, if you have any thoughts or ideas that you'd like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments, because we know that'll add value to the show. And at the conclusion of our conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have one thing, please feel free to share that as well, because we know that your value, when you put it out there, has a pretty good chance that it's going to help someone out. And you may not even know that it helps them, and yet it's exactly what they are looking for. So share your value. Before we dive into our conversation, though, each morning, Bob and I share our celebrations. Bob, before you share your celebration, do you want to remind people about why we do celebrations?
Why, Tom, I would love to. Allow me to. No, the way you said that, it was just very forced, but that's okay. We celebrate because we're trying to set a tone for what is about to come about us for the day. And I think taking a moment to celebrate the actions we take, or something we observed, or something we saw in a new way, can be really powerful as we look forward. It almost every time, actually, I think every time I've ever had someone celebrate, they've smiled. And so that smile is even when they're doing something difficult. In fact, yesterday I was talking to one of our Renegade Success Network members, and he said, I always have something to celebrate. I bring that to the table. and you didn't ask me today. So I want to share what I'm celebrating. And he went to share it. So it's an important part of that for him and for all of us. And I think as we start to do that, hopefully as people are doing it with us during the program, like, what do I have to celebrate from the last 24 hours? It starts to instill this habit of rewarding yourself with the celebration for taking the steps. So I'll give you an example. My celebration today goes back to yesterday. We recorded yesterday's episode. I was up and out away from the bunker earlier than usual. And so it was around 6:40, and there was a beautiful sunrise. Beautiful red sunrise. I love sunrises. I haven't been out to see a sunrise in months. And I took a second at a traffic light to stop and just really take it all in. And it was just like, wow. I was frustrated that I had to be up early. I was worried about being late to this thing I was going to. And this sunrise was like, okay, this is the payoff for getting up and going to this thing. And it put me in a much more positive light, excuse the pun, going into that situation. Like, okay, this was meant to be. And so I celebrate the beautiful sunrise. And I was able to send a text to someone, and they got to go out and see it. And they actually took some photos of it. So I got to, I was mostly driving. So this morning I saw on Facebook, there were some really nice photos of it. It was even prettier in the photos than what I got to see. So
nice.
Set the tone for a beautiful day. Really did.
That's amazing how that can help, how that can happen, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. So powerful. How about you?
Well, and I also think that one of the values of celebrating is it helps us sometimes do things that are difficult. If we decide, like, this is how I'm going to celebrate, or I'm going to celebrate the opportunity that I get to do this thing, that while it might be challenging, it also might have significant value at the end. And so I think that that's the piece that sometimes gets forgotten. I think it's almost easier to remember to do it after something happens, when you get some results.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it can be very impactful to do it leading into something, or as a way to say, this is how I will celebrate once I complete this action. And I think that can really help us get through some challenging things, knowing that on the other side of it, there's an opportunity to celebrate the fact that we were able to do whatever that challenging thing or impactful thing we do.
And we practice this ourselves, because there was something I shared with you the other day. And in the sharing it with you, I knew you were going to ask me how I was going to celebrate it. And I gave you 2 things I was going to do to celebrate it.
Yes, you did.
So
yes, you did.
There you go. How about you? What's yours today?
So my celebration today is, yesterday I had a game that was 3 hours away, and the weather was not, did not look like it was going to make an easy trip. Let's put it that way. And that actually all things went fine. And, I had company in the car, which made it great. I was riding with my partners, and it really made the 3 hours on the way home seem to go very quickly.
So the 3 officials, did you all have your officials' jerseys on when you were driving up there and back? So anyone driving by would be like, look, it's a zebra car. No?
No.
Okay.
3 hour drive. We usually stop and we change before we then get on the road.
Okay.
Head back. So I'm just celebrating the fact that it's great to have good company along sometimes when you're making trips like that. Sometimes it's valuable to go alone because it's good thinking time. And yesterday it was just nice camaraderie to be with people that I knew and that we had just done something together, and were able to, talk about it a little bit, sort of measure how things went, and then figure out how to move forward to our next event. So
nice.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. So let's dive into pathway restarts. And our topic today is knowing when. Do you want to kick us off?
I do not. I want you to tell us how a lawnmower is going to play into this, because I'm on the edge of my seat. You gave me a preview.
Okay.
Come on, bring it on.
Do I share the whole part of the story or just the story?
Share the whole part. I don't even know.
So as we were getting ready to do the show,
Okay.
Bob was like, I'm not clear how to talk about restarts. I'm still trying to find clarity around it. And I was like, well, I said, Bob, do you remember the last time you mowed the lawn? And
Or in Baltimore, we cut grass. We don't mow the lawn. We cut grass.
Lord, help me. It's like tennis shoes and sneakers.
Yes, it is. And soda and pop and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cut the grass. Anyhow. So if you've ever mowed the lawn, and as Bob said in his opening, everybody has seen a lawnmower and probably used a lawnmower. I started to think about that, and then I just moved on.
If you haven't, you're blessed. That's all I can say.
I know people who really find a lot of serenity in mowing the lawn and look forward to cutting their grass, just in case.
I used to.
Okay. Well, here's the thing is that there's many times when I've had to mow the lawn that something would happen. My phone would ring. I'd have to go to the bathroom, all of those things. So I said to Bob, like, well, what would you do when you mowed the lawn or when it happened when you were mowing the lawn? And he said, well, I would turn off the lawnmower. I'm like, okay. And then what would you do when you finished doing whatever it was you had to do? He was like, I'd restart the lawnmower. I was like, yes, that's the case. And I think sometimes the challenge is knowing when to restart, which is why we're talking about it today. You know, you might be like, wow, that phone call really led to some other thing that I had to do. And I couldn't go back immediately and restart it. I might actually not even be able to finish mowing the lawn today because this took me somewhere else. Or I went into the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom, I was like, man, I'm kind of hungry. And maybe I'll eat something before I go back out. And so I think that one of the things to consider and to think about is, you know, like when to restart. Many times you would go in and do whatever it was and come back out and restart and be done. And that's not always the case. And I think it's a choice, right? We get to that point and now we have a choice to make about when that we want to restart. Does that add some clarity, Bob?
It does. It adds a lot of clarity. I really like it. It's a very clean example of that you can apply to a business situation. So as I told you before the program, I didn't really think of a restart that I did in the last week, but I was looking for a place to live. I found a place that I wanted to buy, and it required a lot of finagling of things. You know, just getting financial paperwork together. And I kind of put work stuff aside for a couple of days and really focused on that and had to reschedule some things. So yesterday, when that was done, there was a restart. Doesn't mean that I'm not committed to my business. In fact, because of this property and all that, I need to be even more committed to my business. So that's the blessing and the curse, but that's okay. And so I didn't think of a restart, but I think we do that. If you have a health emergency, if you have children and you've got to take 3 days off of work because they're sick, or you have a parent who's sick. You know, I've had plenty of times where I restarted things because my father was sick, and, you know, just, you get the call and you'd have to deal with it. You could, Dad, I'm sorry, I can't come to the hospital right now, or Dad, I can't come help you with this problem. And so, yeah, you have these restarts. Doesn't mean my priorities, my business isn't important to me in all those situations. It's just something has kind of gotten in the way, usually on a temporary basis, or it's just, I think for me, it's mostly unexpected stuff. When I was cutting the grass or mowing the lawn, I wasn't expecting my phone to ring. So I wasn't expecting the neighbor to come over and say, hey, I'm trying to move a cabinet. It's really heavy. I don't want my wife to have to move it. Can you come over and help me move the cabinet? Yeah, sure, of course. Go over, you move the cabinet, you start talking, start drinking some beverages, and before you know it, an hour and a half is shot. And you're like, oh, shoot, I got to get somewhere now. And the lawn gets put to the side. Or, you know, a restart with the lawn example that I had often was you go cut the grass Saturday and it would be raining. It's like, okay, didn't expect that, or I did expect that, but I thought it was going to be later in the day. Now I've got to restart my day. Okay, what was the next thing on my list? Or how do I fit this into my Sunday when I'm doing 14 other things? And I think that's what it really clicked for me when you were saying that, because that's a really pure example. And I think in our business lives and in our leadership lives, what happens is when those restarts come, we don't acknowledge them for what they are. If you're cutting the grass and it starts pouring rain and there's a thunderstorm, you usually run inside. There isn't really time to discuss, well, I'm going to stay out here and I might get hit by lightning. You're leaving. I think when we're in business, when we're in leadership roles, it's not as clear. There isn't thunder and lightning to tell us you've got to do it. Sometimes there is, but sometimes it's just, wow, it looks really cloudy out there. This might not be working. This could be working. I don't know what to do. And you don't know what to do with that. And as you're debating it with yourself, what happens to me is I start to lose my confidence. And as I lose my confidence, I start to draw away from the things that make me powerful at what I do, the systems and processes. So I extrapolate from, well, that call didn't go well today. I'm not going to make any more calls. I can't do sales calls. I can't do any calls. Here's my phone. I'm putting my phone down. I'm not even going to, if someone calls me, I'm not going to answer it. I'm so lousy at that. Or, boy, that meeting with that employee, it took a real turn. That wasn't what I expected. I'm just going to shut my door to my office and not talk to anyone the rest of the day. If an employee comes to me, I'm sorry, I'm in a meeting, because you've lost that confidence. And your systems that, you ask them how they're doing, you go through, you start to have that go away from you. And I think that's one of the things that I'm starting to realize is so much of what we're talking through isn't really so much about the restart or the course adjustment. It's how we keep level through those things, how we stick to what we know, stick to what we do well. So if you make a bad call when you're officiating the women's and girls lacrosse, you can't sit there for 20 minutes and go, oh, that was a bad call. I don't know what. That play is starting up all over again. You've got to get back out there. And maybe you're a little timid the next time you think that situation comes up, but you've got to make a decision. And if you don't call the same foul that you missed the first time for the next 3 times, the coach is going to be young. The teams are going to be young. Everyone's going to be young at you. So you've got to restart very quickly. And I think that might be the thing ultimately that works to our favor. You've told me that I made a call and I was questioning myself a little bit, and then you just moved on. I think when I do that, hey, you know what? I had a meeting that didn't go the way I expected. Move on. Next meeting, go through, and usually it corrects itself if you cling to those things you do consistently. Like I'll give you another example. I have a routine in the morning. I didn't do it this morning. I slept. I haven't been sleeping very well, and I didn't get up at 6 and do the routine things I do. So everything that I normally do that gets me in the headspace, some affirmations, some meditation, some listening to stuff on my phone, those things went out the window this morning. So here I am at, 7:40, and I feel completely unmoored. I'm not anchored in those things. And that the confidence I get from those processes, those systems, is what gives me the ability to tackle whatever comes at 8 o'clock. And I can tell just by the way I'm talking that I'm unsettled. And I think that's what happens when we're doing things that we don't expect. We start to get unsettled. And rather than going, okay, where did I fall off the train here? And for me, I fell off the train at 6 a.m. when I set my alarm for 6:40 this morning, last night. That's when I agreed to make a restart.
And you made that choice.
And I made that choice. And now as I look back on it, that choice had a lot of effects. And I can spend the rest of the day going, oh, woe is me. Oh, I'm not sleeping very well, and I didn't get to do the things I do. Or I could say, you know what? made that choice. It's time to move on. I'm going to restart and I'm going to try to sneak those things in. And then I'm going to rock and roll and get through the day as if that didn't happen. And I think so often what happens is it's a cascading effect. We see something isn't as we planned it, and we start to lose our confidence more and more and more. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I've got 3 meetings with employees today. The first one goes poorly. These are going to be lousy. You go into the second one a little shy, like, I don't want to bring up these tough issues. And then by the time you get to the third one, you're like, you say to the person, I'm having a really bad day with meetings. So if you've got anything big to talk about, probably not the day to do it. Well, now you've set a tone. And I've done that. Or, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, so much of it in my mind as you were talking through is about the judgments that you make. One of the first judgments you made was when you said, I fell off the train.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you made that choice.
Right.
So
I prioritize sleep over that routine,
Correct.
which may or may not have been a good choice.
Well, that's a judgment. It was a
Right.
choice. And I think that's the same thing. If you define a meeting as, well, that didn't go well, or that was a bad meeting, you've set yourself up for judgment. You already judged it. And when we judge, that's when all those, the emotions that we had stay, rather than moving forward and figuring out, okay, well, what did I learn from this meeting? Not this. And I think that gives us an opportunity to learn rather than to judge. And so I just think that was a whole thread that was going through it, is that you made the choice. Okay. So there was a reason you made the choice. You made the choice that was real in the moment. And so you just be, okay, what did I learn from that? Not to judge it. And, I think that's a little bit about, the knowing when to restart. You could. And it's a little bit in those knowing when is a lot about what did you learn in the checkpoint that you had. And you could set up a system where it says, I'm not bringing my phone out to the lawnmower when I cut the grass. I'm going to leave it inside because I want to get this complete. This is the priority. And nothing is going to interrupt me at the moment. If it's something really important, somebody will run out and grab me, and then maybe I'll modify it. Because many times you could get a phone call that has nothing that was that important that you needed to take at the time. That's your choice. Your neighbor comes over and asks you to help. You could be like, yes, and I need to finish this one thing. Right. I can be over there in 30 minutes when I complete this. And I think because you knew at the time you wanted to complete it, you set up a system that said, or you put a note on your door that says, I'm busy for the next 30 minutes. Please do not disturb unless it's an absolute emergency.
Right.
And otherwise, I am going to just continue doing what I'm doing. That's a system that you set up to say, I don't want an unintended checkpoint. And something that is those unintended checkpoints are usually emotional responses to distract what I'm doing. Your neighbor comes over and you're like, oh man, he came and helped me last week and I really need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And now you're feeling guilty. And that guilt leads you to make a decision that you might not otherwise have done.
Never, Tom. I would never feel guilty about not helping someone. All the time.
So I think that there's just that part of it is really trying to understand, like, what am I doing and how do I then move forward with it? And what is the appropriate time to do that? Which is the question I think we're trying to answer today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now that we've defined it and we think about it, do you have your one thing around knowing when to restart?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
I think we have. It's what you said towards the end of all that. We make a choice, and it's not good or bad. Because I think in my mind, as you were talking through it, it was like I think of a restart as a bad thing. I didn't anticipate everything I should have, so therefore I screwed up. If I'm cutting the grass or mowing the lawn and the phone rings like, oh, I should have expected that I was going to get a call. My mother usually calls me at 4:30 every Wednesday. It's 4:30 on Wednesday. I should have expected that. But maybe I just wasn't thinking about it. It was 4:00. It was a gorgeous day. I wanted to go out and cut the grass. So I go out and I start. I'm not thinking through that. But if it's like, oh, I got to stop the mower and I got to talk to mom, restart it. And by the way, it's not a problem to talk to my mother. I don't want anyone to think that's the issue. It's the issue of I didn't anticipate that coming up in this. And I think I tend at least to see it as a negative if I have to restart something. I should have thought of that. I could have done a better job of anticipating. This morning, I should have anticipated how I would be for the day if I didn't go through my usual morning routine. I've got a busy day. What was I thinking? Versus I prioritized last night sleep over other stuff because I remember thinking through yesterday. It's like, I got a busy day tomorrow. I need to get my sleep. I'm going to sleep a little later. Now I'm second guessing that. I have no confidence in that decision. And what could happen very easily is that cascades to all the other decisions of the day. It's like, or I use it as an excuse. Didn't do my routine, so now I can mess things up. And, it's off of me.
Right. Something else or someone else to blame.
Right.
Which, and in reality, what does the blame, how does that help at all?
Right.
That's just a judgment in and of itself.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. But I see how you can see how my mind just starts to one bad decision in my head leads to other bad decisions, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy over the course of the day. So that at the end of the day, this is a horrible day, which sets me up for another bad day the next day because yesterday was a horrible day, obviously,
Well, either that or it sets you up for unexpected or, unanticipated or unrealistic expectations.
Correct.
I had a bad day today, so that means I need to have a really good day tomorrow. And however you define really good, which usually we don't define very well,
right,
at all, and we're setting ourselves up for if we're expecting that the first time that something goes not the way we expected,
right,
all we're going to do is revert back to it's going to be just like yesterday. Judgment.
Yep. How about you?
So to me, knowing when is all about the priorities you have and how you set them. And, and I think if you haven't set them, then it becomes easy to take a pause and sometimes challenging to know when to restart. If you're out there mowing the lawn and the only call I am taking is from my mother, because that is a priority. You're gonna be mowing the lawn. You're going to look down and see who it is. You're like, nope, keep them going. And to me, knowing when is all about priorities, and it's when whatever it is that you're restarting becomes one of your top 1 or 2 or 3 priorities. And at the moment, it's the one that is right in front of you that becomes top, or it's still number 3, yet 1 and 2 aren't impacting you at the moment. You're like, okay, this makes sense. Now I can give this the time, effort, and energy that I have rather than keeping it on pause so that I'm able to really give it the time and attention it deserves. And I would go back to, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, is the book that I've talked about writing.
Mm-hmm.
As I don't believe at the moment I can give it the time and energy it deserves because of other things that I've prioritized at the moment. And so that's why that is still on pause. When I reevaluate at my next checkpoint, things may have changed. And now I might say, geez, you know what? This is the time that I can prioritize this, give it the time and energy that it needs, and take some of these other priorities and push them to the side or reprioritize them. Then I'll know when it's appropriate to restart.
Wow. There was a lot packed into that episode.
All about lawn. Started with lawnmowers. And whether you cut the grass or mow the lawn.
That's right. That's right. Please, people in the comments, do you cut the grass or mow the lawn? We'd love to know.
Or you could be like, I have an apartment. I've never, ever had to deal with that. I live in the city. There is no lawn or grass to cut or mow.
You are fortunate.
Well, and it's interesting. Does anybody say mow the grass or cut the lawn? I guess thinking now.
Yeah. So many choices.
All right, everyone. If you have one thing that you would like to share, please feel free to put it in the comments. Because again, we know there might be somebody out there who what you say is the thing that they have been looking for, that one thing to help them move forward. And if you're listening to the podcast, we know that unfortunately there's no place to comment, share your thoughts or ideas, your value. So please join us inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook.
Sorry, my cat has become very attracted to the wire to the camera.
Got it. Yeah, but for those of you on the podcast, Bob just sort of shifted his screen. So again,
Tom Edwards with us, and he says, I started cutting grass at 7 years old and never stopped. He's like Forrest Gump. He's still going. He's never turned off the machine. He's got a refillable gas tank. It just away he goes. Look for Edward on the street near you.
He has one of those old
the rotary ones.
Correct. We need to just keep going forever and ever. Thank you, Edward, for sharing that. And clearly, not clearly, but it seems I'm going to believe that you are a Baltimore person because you said cut the grass. Yes. Anyhow, and though back to the podcast, people, if you please join us inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group where you can share your thoughts and ideas and where we are helping others, small business owners, leaders, entrepreneurs, professionals, try to develop strategies that are going to create systems to help them find the confidence they need to figure out how to move forward, take their next step, and achieve the goals and dreams of their desires. So we look forward to seeing you inside of that Facebook
Edward
group.
Responded to you. He's a Baltimorean, which we Baltimoreans like to.
Well, no wonder judgment is such an issue in Baltimore when you define yourself as and you make a judgment around yourself in the way that you define who you are. Fair enough.
It could be something for Edward and me to think about this morning.
Might be something to consider. All right, everyone. We look forward to seeing you inside that Facebook group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bob's favorite show of the week.
Discoveries of the week. I'm so excited.
And hopefully you found something to discover on the pathway reset you can share.
I've discovered a lot today.
Excellent. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time for our next episode of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. It's worth it. It'll help you whether you have to restart something or whether you don't.
Certainly. So go out and make it a day. I'm going to change that. Go out and make it a day. Don't judge it. And we'll see you soon.
Mic drop.
Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.